Welcome back to Podcast Recovery, everyone. We're your hosts, David O.
And Eric V.
Today we're joined by our guest, Steve. How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right, man. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Doing all right,
Good.
navigating the world as it is.
Yes, the apocalypse.
Yeah. So, where are you from, Steve?
I'm from Bloomington, Minnesota.
Nice. So, when were you first introduced to recovery?
I'd say probably 2003. Yeah,
2003?
Yeah, 2003.
Nice. And how long have you been sober?
I've been sober on the 14th. It'll be 8 months.
Nice. Congratulations. That's awesome, man.
Yeah. It's taken a while to get to the point I'm at.
Yeah, I hear you, man. It happens. And with all that out of the way, we're going to turn it over to you to share your story with us. So take it away.
Okay. I'm Steve. I'm a former meth head, pothead. My story starts actually about 12 years old, with addictive substances. My first addictive substance was nicotine, was tobacco. So, I would be either smoking or chewing Copenhagen in school, and there's a lot of problems there because I always got busted. In the end, you always get found out if you're doing dirt. Speed that up to age 14, I tried pot for the first time and liked it, and then smoked sporadically till I was 14. Then I had some time of sobriety from 15 to 17 because I was taught at home. I was homeschooled. And then my use started up again with alcohol at age 17, just on, usually on like a Friday or a Saturday night. With my buddy. We'd each get a pint of Hot 100 or whatever, hard liquor, and chill in a hot tub and BS and have some fun. And that's where the downward spiral begins, because I went from booze to marijuana. My little brother actually was my hookup from 18 to about 20. My mid-20s was a lot of LSD, cocaine, crack, mushrooms, lots of pills. Basically, whatever was on the table. If it was on the table, I was doing it. Life is all right. The worst thing that ever happened is I maybe got thrown in detox or came home and threw my guts up in the toilet at night, and working in bars as a cook. You're always getting free beers after work and stuff like that. So, I didn't have to pay very much for drinks while I was working. And, that once I hit 21 and was legal, I was drinking every single freaking night. As much as I could get. I think there was maybe, in a 2-year span, there was probably one night that I wasn't puking my guts up at the end of the night. I've puked so hard, the blood vessels in my eye burst.
Ooh.
And I had red splotchy eyes for the longest time. my major trouble started about 27. Well, actually I'd say about 26.
Mm-hmm.
Doing acid, doing cocaine, hot and heavy then. People dragging me home because I can't move. Really had a lot of tension between me and my parents.
Mm-hmm.
And my sister, who was using at the time, was even like, man, you got to back off, bro, because it's just, you're too much, man. So, that was going on. Anything and everything was the only thing I wanted was more sex, drugs, alcohol, porn.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't matter, as long as I got some kind of a buzz or a warm fuzzy feeling from it, I was doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And the first time I got busted and went to prison was age 27 in about 2003. Got in some trouble with the law. They busted me. I did, since 2003 to 2014, I've been in and out of prison for most of that time. I was out for a couple of years from 04 to 06, right back until 08, back out till 2013, in and out, and drugs. And it was all because I did stupid shit when I was high or drunk.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime I was medicated, I was doing stupid shit that I knew I could get busted for, but I didn't care because, you don't feel anything when you're higher than a kite. You don't think about things. All you're thinking about is party, party, party.
Yep.
Now, going into my mental health, growing up as a child, I'd say till probably age 25, I have been struggling with ADHD. That was really, the thing about when you're having problems with mental health is, hey, I can drink myself unconscious, or I can go and get high enough to where I won't care what people think. I'll just be me.
Mm-hmm.
It's the ultimate boost for self-esteem and ultimate excuse to do whatever the hell you want. I was funnier, I was cooler, people were hanging out with me, always wanted to hang out, invite me to parties. Of course, that's because I'm 21 and I can buy booze, or I've got the good drugs, But now, the flip side of that is when you don't have the drugs, people really don't like you all that much. They tend to forget about you. And I just, chalked it up. Okay, people were busy, whatever. It is what it is. So, doing that I've been getting high and drunk for 30 years. I'm 46 years old. Father of two. I fucked up that relationship too because my kids want nothing to do with me. I was barely in their life at all. I didn't know how to be a father. I was more had kids when I was 26 and like I was still a little kid inside. I needed that acceptance and I needed I wanted to party, you know. Everything I put everything and anything in front of family, kids, friends. There's so many bridges I've burned. Luckily, my family is still on my side. But, you know, my two girls really don't want much of anything to do with me. They're one standoffish and one was more like, you haven't changed. So what's different, you know? So I really keep, you know, there's a lot of relationships that I've gotten. The thing about being high is you don't really care who you hook up with. I mean, you know, because it's all drug centric. It's all about where the dope's at and you know whether they get high too. Because if you go with somebody who doesn't get high, they're going to sit there and peck your butt, or just blow you off and go someplace else with somebody that is sober. So, you know, ending up hooking up with people as batshit crazy as I am, and just as many issues, if not more, and it's just toxic relationships, not really knowing, not really wanting companionship and a relationship, just wanting to get high and fuck. That was it.
Yeah.
So that's been my cycle for the past 30 years. And then, like, I'd say the last 5 years, I got introduced into methamphetamines, and it's gotten even worse, man. I went from smoking it to eating it to shooting it up. I saw a buddy shoot it up one time, and he's like, that's the only way to go. So I was like, hey, stick me up. Next thing you know, I'm sticking needles in my arm every single day. And just, you know, staying up for 3 days at a time. On the fourth day, it's like I can barely keep my eyes open. I had to turn myself in for booking on a check forgery charge about a year and a half ago, and I'd been high for the past 3 days, and the cop there asked me, hey, are you all right? I was like, yeah, I'm just really, really tired. You know,
Yeah.
You know you're doing too much dope when you can go to sleep on the shit you're smoking. You know, you're doing that much all the time. Your body gets used to it. Your tolerance goes up. So, of course, you know, you got to do more and more and more and more. And it's just snowballed. You know, my parents, you know, I've stolen from my parents. I've stolen from my sister, my brother. I've stolen from anybody and everybody I could. So I could feed my addiction. You know, pawn shops were my friend because they'd take anything, pretty much no questions asked. They assumed it was your shit. And, you know, so, yeah, I was hitting them like once or twice a week. Everybody wanted me to pawn shit off for them. Okay, so give me some dope. All right, cool, we can do that, you know. It's just, you know, this past few years, you know, being homeless and being told that the only way you can go home to see your parents is if A, your mom's there and your dad's not there, and your dad doesn't find out because you're living on the streets because they kicked your ass out, and they're both really pissed at you. Luckily, I got in to my parents' house and got into treatment. I made the mistake of going. I completed 4 months of inpatient treatment and then left that treatment center, went to a different treatment center and continued to do outpatient. And ended up using while I was an outpatient. It was in a harm reduction program, so they're like, okay, you aren't doing methamphetamines, which is your drug of choice, so smoking weed every once in a while to make sure you can get to sleep in the shelter. It's still bad, but it's not as bad. So I relapsed again, went into inpatient, and the thing that I've had dealt with all my life is anxiety. My ADHD was in check, but because of my methamphetamine use, I believe very strongly, I ended up being bipolar 1. So, and I don't get the happy, bubbly, full of energy kind of mania. I get the everything, whatever annoys me, usually totally pisses me off, and being pissed off is rage. It's not just, okay, I'm mad at you,
Yeah.
Very verbally aggressive, and my brain wouldn't shut off. I was barely getting any sleep at night. Luckily, I got on the right med regimen to combat the anxiety. I used to, before I got on the right road, I used to have anxiety attacks, even sometimes when I was drunk or high, like 10, 12 times a day. It's when you're homeless, your anxiety is already at a certain level because, just because you're the chemical imbalance in your brain, and then adding homelessness and having to watch out all the time and not knowing where your next meal is coming from or where you're going to be laying down that night, adds a lot of extra stress. So, this last time when I went through inpatient on October 14th of last year, I was a little less angry and more on the ball with my program. The thing that, with me, treatment and my recovery is black and white. There's not really shades of gray with me. The ultimate harm reduction program for me is abstinence. Anything else, and I'm back off to the races. So going to treatment, inpatient treatment, someplace that uses harm reduction was kind of frustrating because people would end up sneaking in dope and using, or go out on pass, come back snookered or high as hell, and they gave them time after time after time. I was really the thing that stunted me the most was putting my standards and my expectations for myself and projecting that onto others. A big ass case of the should. I'm doing this. You're here. You should be doing this too. I was very direct and blunt because there was no quarter with me. Either you were all the way sober or don't even try to say you're sober. Don't say, well, I'm doing the harm reduction thing. Well, that means you're using. So 51 days later, I graduated, and one of the guys that thought I was on bullshit and was always picking the butt out of me for about the first couple weeks he was there, at the graduation ceremony, your counselor picks out a stone with a word on it, and you have somebody present that. He's like, dude, I want to present that stone to you, you know, and you know, it was the best feeling in the world to actually have 51 days sober and to have people like that didn't necessarily agree with me and thought I was kind of hanky end up being my best friends. I still keep in contact with a bunch of people from Plus Recovery Center in Minneapolis, 2120 Park Avenue. Very great people there. Leon was my counselor. He was great. Chris Ackerman is now the director there, and he's just phenomenal. Then after there, I went to what's called an IRTS facility, and it stands for Intensive Rehabilitation Treatment Services. Basically, it's a 90-day treatment center for mental health, which is what I had been advocating for before I got bounced out of treatment the first time and came back after I got some legal stuff taken care of. And my counselor was like, you still want to go to an IRTS facility? I was like, yeah, okay. They got this new one in North Minneapolis called Northside Residence. Like 8 people, and all you do is groups. You have 5 groups, 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, and 1 at night, and then you have free time or whatever kind of structured activities, and it helped me a lot to work on my mental health. Some of the things I do now is I do a lot of binaural therapy. I have like 4 or 5 binaural beat apps. I've got a couple of meditation apps. I try to meditate 2 or 3 times a day. Binaurals at night, isochronic tones. You know, just training my brain subconsciously, you know, with the binaurals is 2 conflicting tones making a 3rd tone, which ultimately tweaks your brain a little bit. So that with the meditation and the guided meditations, I use Insight Timer. If anybody's got Google, got Android, get Insight Timer. The free version is cool. If you can afford to pay the monthly charge for the courses, do that. And so yeah, you know, I graduated from Northside, which was kind of a struggle because again I was putting my expectations, projecting my standards onto others and judging them by my standards, whereas I should have been meeting them where they were at. Since I've had a lot more chance to meet people where they're at, being on the outside, you know, being like, okay, this person's new, they're trying to get it. You know, I've got a buddy that we went to treatment together, Dave Fallon, really good dude. And, you know, we started out, we'd do morning meditations and readings and talk. And, you know, I've had so many of the roommates I had in treatment fall by the wayside. It's not even funny. I mean, this disease is no freaking joke.
Yep.
It's no freaking joke. It's definitely no joke. I mean, you know, if I'm not on my game 24/7, 365, every second, minute, hour, day, week, I can go back out there and use. You know, my mind was thinking, okay, I can get away with it once. Well, then it's okay. I got away with it once. Why the hell not do it again? I've got the patterns down. As soon as you got shit figured out, that's when the guys end up flipping the script on you, and they throw a monkey wrench in your gearbox, and you end up getting busted. Anyway, you're out. No matter what you do, you put bad out there, you are going to get busted. Might not be for what you did the first time, but you'll get busted. Going to meetings and everything has been very good. My goal is to become a peer support specialist. That's somebody that works at either for an organization that utilizes them, or for treatment centers, to help people just like me stay sober. I'm like a step down from a counselor. I'm not a tech. And I'm above it, the techs. I'm the guy that helps the counselors with their groups. Add my 10 cents in there, with what I go through. Have one-on-ones with everybody in the treatment center, and see how they're going, and try to help people and steer them a little bit more on the off hours, so hopefully they get it right. Like, you can be, I was in treatment for 3 months, and after a month, you're basically there. After about I'd say a month and a half, they're rehashing the same stuff because new people are coming in, and you're getting bored and everything else. So it's nice to be able to have somebody that you can talk to when everybody else is busy, and get a different perspective. I'm in a really good sober house now at Hattie House over in Bloomington. They have a zero tolerance policy with using. The first week I was here, that weekend, two guys decided. One decided he was going to shoot himself to the moon with morphine. Heroin. The other guy drank a couple bottles of mouthwash, and they both got hauled to detox and bounced out. So, you got to make sure that you're in a safe environment when you're looking for sober housing, I found, because if you're not, there's a lot more temptation. Like me, I'm in residential right now. I'm in Bloomington, which is not far from the Mall of America. It's a nice neighborhood. There's family. There's apartment buildings, but everybody, is family people. It's not a bunch of partiers and everything else like that. It's a lot more a mixture of people of color and Caucasians, and there's not a dealer on every street. I've been here darn near a month, and I haven't had, the only time I had anybody offer me some drugs was when I had to get on the bus to go someplace. Other than that, I'm nice and safe here. I go through, the biggest thing is my self-care, the mental hygiene, the physical hygiene, the spiritual hygiene. You have, I've heard a lot of people talk about 12-step programs in a very not so nice manner because of the whole God thing. Paganism has definitely made itself known these days. Before, if you were pagan and at a meeting, all you did was get preached at. Now we have our own meetings. I've been a pagan for a few years now, and having that spirituality, not religion, spirituality. There's a difference. With religion, it's rules, regulations. You do this, or you're fucked in the afterlife. Whereas spirituality is, okay, I messed up. I'm going to do better tomorrow. Here's where I messed up. I'm going to tweak it tomorrow and do better, improve myself. And when I found my spirituality and which I practice every single day, meditation being part of my spirituality, readings part of my spirituality. There are billion Facebook groups for pagans in recovery. I've gotten hooked up with 3 or 4 of those groups. Left Hand Path Recovery here in Minneapolis, off Central and 18th. Left Hand Path Recovery is a smaller group of pagans that are have addictive natures and are suffering from the life that they led, and they're trying to do something better with congregating together and sharing experience, strength, and hope. That's what you need to find with a meeting, is find one that's right for you. There's always going to be, they've got them for the LGBTQ. They've got Overeaters Anonymous. They've got Gamblers Anonymous, Porn Anonymous. They've got an anonymous program for any and anything that might be addicting out there. All you got to do is get on the line. Your best resource to start out with is probably Facebook at this point, because, like I said, they have groups for everything. They have a Facebook group for everything. And that's how I got into some pagan meetings and have a pagan sponsor. I'm working I'm still in the middle of my 4th step. So yeah, it's just taking it one day at a time. My mantra is fact number 1, life is a rat sandwich. Number 2, when life hands you a rat sandwich, steak sauce makes everything taste like steak sauce. So my mantra is find the steak sauce when life hands you a rat sandwich. That way it tastes like steak. So if you got to eat it, at least it's decent, Basically, find the positive in every situation. Don't get bogged down into the negative, because as addicts, I've found in my experience as an addict, my mind will just churn and churn and churn on that negative stuff, and that jacks my anxiety up and just, makes it to where I might not get but 2 hours of sleep a night. Because you're always expecting things to go wrong. If you think in a positive light and think, okay, yeah, this could go wrong, but this is the workaround, you frame it into, okay, this is how I can work around all this shit that can go wrong, then you have a plan of attack. You're more able to handle that situation and get through it without getting high. And that, I've got people that at meetings, talking about the 12th step now, at meetings, it's really good to get your story out, because something you say is going to resonate with somebody else, and more than likely it's going to be a newcomer. It's coming in, and I've had newcomers come up to me say, "Dude, what you said, that's me." I'm like, "Well, hey, did it help?" "Yeah, man." And we'll talk in fellowship afterwards. Maybe go to Perkins or sit at a park and smoke cigarettes and bullshit about life and our experiences and what's worked for us. Sharing my experience and what's worked for me reinforces it in my head, and helping other people reminds me where I came from. It reminds me of my roots. I came in a destitute junkie that was just looked on as a piece of garbage by society. And now, I've got people in my sober network that asked me to be in their sober network. They reached out to me and said, "Hey, I like what you said. Here's my problem. I've got a bunch of people I check on every single day, in case they're doing not so good. I give them a little encouragement. We talk it through, think it out, get everything taken care of." That's pretty much all I got, man. That's my story.
All right, man. Cool. Great job. Well, we definitely have some questions for you.
All right.
May I go first, Eric?
Sure.
Okay. I want to start with something you were talking about right at the end with the paganism, because that's very similar to my spirituality. Mine's more of the Norse heathen,
Yep. I'm friends with plenty of heathens, man. Hell, man.
Yeah. So I just wanted to know, so can you describe which path of paganism you chose and how you practice it in conjunction with your recovery?
I guess you'd call me an eclectic pagan. I prefer MacGyver style pagan. I follow the Egyptian gods.
Okay.
So it's I take a little bit from Odinism, from Buddhism, a little bit of Hindu and Shinto, some of the green path, the gray path.
Yep.
And I smash it all together to help me. Magic is about thought and intent, and then action. You're doing your spell work. You're doing your rituals, and then you're not sitting on your ass waiting for something to happen. You're out there making sure that it does happen. It's like the Christians say, faith without works is nothing. It's the same with paganism. If you don't have the faith of a little tiny grain of sand, nothing's going to happen. Everything you try is going to be for naught. But if you're following your spiritual path devotedly and keeping up on that, I have maybe since I've been in sober housing, I've probably had one using dream, and at the time I was doing lucid dreaming, so within a couple of seconds I was like, wait, nope, I don't want this, and kicked right out of it. Working with tarot cards, I've got a bunch of resources for pagans in recovery. I read Russell Brand's book Recovery. I love that, man. That dude is definitely hella spiritual. I just, it hits my heart every time he opens his mouth to speak. You know, get all the resources you can, figure out which ones you want to keep, which ones resonate with you, and build yourself your own spiritual path.
Yep, absolutely.
You know,
Well,
you know. So that's what I got for that.
perfect. Yeah, that's a great answer. What you got, Eric?
So you talked a lot about core issues and mental health. And, kind of, you said that you seeked outside help and you seeked extra help. What are some of the things that you're currently doing besides the meditation to make sure that you're still on an even keel, to the best of your ability, of course, with your mental health and, processing the core issues of your past?
Pretty much, I've always been, whenever I get busted, I'm of the mind, okay, I fucked up. I got to pay the consequences. You got to pay the police. All right. That's all well and good. I'm good there. It's with the mental health, I'm going to therapy every week. I have a therapist I talk to every week, a psychiatrist I talk to every month and a half. I've got an arms worker, which basically is kind of like sober support. Helps you get through the day, helps you with planning, helps you with whatever resources they can directing you towards the resources. I've got a case manager that I talk to bi-weekly. I end up going to therapy and like doing a lot of some writing. My therapist gives me assignments to work on, when I'm having issues like loving kindness, self-compassion, seeing the gray in situations. Just, blurting out all my brain puke from the past week, and then him finding the patterns and saying, okay, I see a pattern here. Did you see this? No, I didn't. Okay, here's the pattern. This is what we're going to work on. This is your homework. You have to keep up. You have to keep up on your med regimen. You have to, because if I don't keep up on my med regimen, the only thing that's with my, like I said, nowadays with my med regimen, I've only had a couple, maybe 2 or 3 millisecond anxiety attacks. Little points here and there, but I've been able to snap myself out of them. Like as soon as they start, I stop them. So I'm doing good. I'm able to sleep at night. I know some people, especially when they get sober, do not like to want to go to the extreme of not taking any meds whatsoever. But if you need to take meds, it's because there's a chemical in your brain that is not getting to the right place, and you need that medication to solve those to ease those mental problems. You're never going to get cured, but you can at least nix the symptoms, or if you do become symptomatic, the symptoms won't be as bad, and you can snap yourself out. That's the one thing I would preach about is med management. Make sure you are on top of your meds. I'm in a sober house where they do meds on a regular schedule 3 times a day. If you don't take your meds, they mark that down. They are making sure that you are taking your meds. They're making us meals three times a day. required to go to 3 meetings a week. I'm either on Zoom or Discord all week long, with either meetings or just chatting in the groups. Zoom is great for making meetings. Anybody can start a meeting in Zoom. They give you a code. You just set everything up, give people the link. All of the sites I'm on, they have no problem doing pop-up meetings like in the afternoon. Usually they do them at night, but in the afternoon, if somebody needs a meeting, say, hey, they go on the general chat line and they're like, I need a meeting. Hook me up. Somebody out there, especially now with the apocalypse going on right now, everybody's staying at home. There's plenty of people that answer the call, and you can get your meeting on. It's med management, keeping up with my psych appointments, and going to meetings. Meditation, a lot of meditation, a lot of reading. Being sober can be very fun. You just have to find the right group, and if that has lots of fun, like over in East St. Paul at Northwestern Alano, nicknamed the White House. About this time of year, they're having cookouts and barbecues. Going to Gopher State, having a couple of suites at Gopher State over in Bloomington. Every holiday they're there till probably 1 o'clock, doing meetings and all day long and potluck. Everybody brings some lunch, dinner. You gotta find a home group that resonates with you and has fun with it. I don't. I never believed it. The reason I got turned off of Christianity after decades of being a Christian was long-faced religion. Everybody, droll and drum. Basically, spiritual-wise, they were dry drunks, and in a spiritual way. Whereas with paganism, they take anybody and everybody. They don't discriminate. The brother on your left could be practicing Islam, but he's in your circle. He does rituals and everything with his God and in his style, and so there's a smorgasbord of everything out there. You just got to find the right one.
Yep.
What else you got?
All right. So what do you see as like the biggest challenges that you're going to face, and like how are you going to overcome them to maintain long-term recovery?
My biggest barrier is me. Complacency.
Yeah.
Being comfortable. If you're not feeling if you're feeling comfortable in sobriety, you're not doing it right. Something by the wayside. Something is wrong. There is some issue that either you overlooked, denied, or don't see that's going to get you stuck in the end. Within a month or two, you're going to be right back where you were before you got sober. I can't be comfortable. I have to be on my guard all the time. I have to know exactly, anytime I go out, where I'm walking, what kind of crowd is going to be out there, what section of town it is. I have to be on the ball and make sure that I'm staying in and traveling in safer places, or if I can't, call up a sober buddy and and get a sober buddy to road dog it with you, or set up, getting invited to get-togethers where it's likely there's going to be a few people smoking some weed out back, and there's going to be a little bit of drinking. If you do want to go to this event, make sure that you have somebody calling you. I make sure to have a sober person calling me about a half hour into it and saying, "Hey, are you good? Or are things a little bit hinky?" And you can be like, and then you be like, "All right, cool, I'm on my way," and get out of the situation. Or, "Nah, I'm good, dude, cool, everything's going all right. Hit me up in about an hour."
Yeah.
Make sure you have a backup, and a backup for the backup.
Yep.
Once you have your plan of action and your plan of attack, make sure that you have enough backups to where if you don't come out smelling like roses, at least you ain't smelling like shit.
Yeah. Love it.
So that's what I got for that. Next question.
Perfect.
Well, it is. It's about that time, David.
It's that time?
It is that time.
Ladies and gentlemen of the audience, it is time to go to the Twitter.
So this question comes from AGAS Mauritius. So the way...
nice. Is that Freddie? Nice.
So the way that this works is, Steve, you'll answer the question first, and then David, and then myself. And the question is, having reservations and fears and admitting powerlessness over addiction to your family members, how did you admit how did you go about telling your family that you were an addict, and how was that met by the family?
My parents told me I was an addict. I didn't have to broach the subject with them. They said, "Hey, shit's rotten in Denmark," and this shit is rotten in Denmark. Freaking, you gotta stop this. You gotta get some help. I don't understand why you always do this. They were the ones pestering me, and I'd go into treatment for a while just to get them off my ass so I could do whatever I want. But now, as I've flipped that switch in my head, it's more admitting to everybody else that I'm an addict. Admitting to myself that I'm an addict. Before it was just, I like to get fucked up. Nah. Now it's, I'm an addict. I can't even be around it because I'll start drooling. I'd lie about my use and everything to my parents and family, but they knew. They knew I was on bullshit. That's why they kicked me out in the end. And the only way I could come back was for a week to get into treatment. Within 3 days, I was in treatment. So, it was basically confronting myself.
Love that. So, Eric, the question is reservations about telling our family that we're an addict?
Yes, and then how did your family react when they found out? Or when you told them?
Okay. Well, in active addiction, it was 100% a reservation, and I was basically living a double life. Like Steve was talking about, they knew something was up, but again, I was not telling the truth to them in any way, shape, or form. So they didn't know the extent of my problems. And like once I was really out on my own, they didn't have to know like what legal trouble I was having. Like I had basically zero accountability to my family. So anytime I was in and out of jail or on probation or anything, they didn't know. So they didn't know how bad it had really gotten. And the whole time I had that fear and like I guess denial, trying to maintain that I wasn't as bad as I really was. So that really summed up the reservation I had like in active addiction. But then once it came to recovery, I didn't really have as much of a reservation, because at that point, like all the chips sort of got put out on the table, and all my cards got shown, and they knew what was going on and how bad it had gotten. So there really wasn't there was nothing left to hide. So it was really easy for me to admit like what I had been doing and where I had been, and honestly who I am, and to really bravely say like, yeah, I'm an addict and now I'm in recovery. And as time has gone on with different friends and family members, it's been really easy to be open, honest, and vulnerable about my addiction and my recovery, and like how my family reacted. I'll do it the same way. Like in active addiction, like they didn't enable me, but they didn't try and dig any deeper into what, they didn't really try to figure out what the problem was and what was going on. So they sort of, I don't know, not ignored it, but they knew something was going on, and they didn't want to know anymore. And then in once I finally like turned to recovery, most of my family was very like proud of me, and they were like, awesome, anything you need, any help you can give or that we can give you, we're happy to be there, and we're proud of you. Just continue on this course. But there were other ones who still had a lot of resentment towards me that I had earned, and it took several years of staying clean. Like my one sister, she didn't talk to me until I had 4.5 years clean. But since then, like the last 3-4 years of our relationship has been amazing. It's like, but between that point, we hadn't talked in 6-7 years. But since then, like I talk to her on almost a daily basis, and like my family life has just become amazing. By getting over those resentments on my side, or not resentments, but resentments and reservations on my side and on theirs, and really developing a healthy family unit again as much as we can.
Awesome. Cool.
What about you, Eric?
So, yeah, I mean, I had no real issues. So, yeah, I mean, with admitting my powerlessness to my addiction, and to my family, I mean, I was pretty good at hiding it. So my family might have known a little bit, but not to that point. But I mean, I didn't really have any, I mean, when I was like in high school, sure, I might have had some fears about admitting that I was like an addict and knowing like I had a problem. But at the end, like, I don't know, I didn't really fucking care. I was a drug addict. Like, you know, I think my look kind of spoke for itself. It's like, why are you wearing long sleeves in July? Like, why is your face sunken in? Why are you gray? Why did you just sleep for 16 hours? Like, I didn't need someone to be like, you know, I don't know. I don't know, that initial one, sure, right? But not later. You know, I mean, it was a pretty open secret after a while. And then with my family, it was just like, they were just disappointed. And, you know, a lot of people will say, like, oh, man, that's what got me the most. I mean, to be honest, when I was using it, I didn't fucking care.
It probably didn't get you that bad.
Yeah, it didn't. I mean, it didn't. Like, from an outward perspective, I was fine. Like, I didn't... Yes, I was a junkie. But I was still doing everything I was supposed to be doing, like, quote-unquote, supposed to be doing in life. So, just because, you know, I... like, you know, was a drug addict and I ate a bunch of pills and smoked crack and shot heroin, it didn't mean, like, I wasn't still, like, holding down a job. So I was like, if I can do this, like, I don't really give a fuck what you guys think. So, I mean...
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't really know. I mean, I guess the very short time of, like, admitting it, like, it was such a moment in time where I don't even know if I had that long to really have any fear about it or reservations. Like, they kind of just knew because I kept fucking up. You know, like my like bigger family, like my extended family, it took them, I guess, a little bit longer. But even then, it was just like, I was like, I'm a drug addict and I don't really care what you think.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's all I got.
All right. Well, it looks like we are about out of time, but we would like to thank our guest, Steve, for joining us this evening.
Woo! Thank you very much.
Yay, absolutely. Boy. Did a great job, man. We appreciate it.
Thank you, brother.
Here at Podcast Recovery, we are aiming to expand the scope of support for recovering addicts. Accessibility and convenience of helpful services is paramount to combating addiction. We work to bring the message of recovery to every addict, wherever and whenever it is needed. We believe that a powerful voice of recovery should be obtainable, practical, and at the touch of a button. Every addict deserves to hear a message of hope, and Podcast Recovery is here to provide it. All right, everybody, thanks for listening. Make sure you check out our digital baskets on Patreon, PayPal, and Venmo. And if you want to listen to any more podcasts, you can go to iTunes, Google Play, all that good stuff. If you want more information about Eric, Carly, Allie, and myself, go to podcastrecovery.com. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, our YouTube channel. But most importantly, everybody out there, stay safe and stay clean.